Easy Sports Talk Show. Javon Adams, Ed Smith. I am a man who tries to stay busy. I run and hope sometimes my Achilles gives me problems and I limp along and my partner tries to tell me to ice it and I've been doing that a lot lately just because I'm trying to stay proactive. He is Ed Smith. He played professional baseball, also played on that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. So he played in the NFL. He is vested. If you know, you know. Look it up. Do your Googles or your Yahoos or whatever it is that you do, or even your Bings these days. And we do this 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com to stay in touch with what we have going on. We also do the podcast Believe in the Arizona Cardinals, who just went live today with that. That's on Mondays and Thursdays. Also, we have our terrestrial radio show, which is every Saturday from 1 to 3 Eastern on SportsMap Radio. You can go to sportsmapradio.com. Click the little play icon in the top right corner if you're not in one of the 90 plus markets that we advertise in. And you can also download their app and take us in your pocket for your Android or mobile device. So, man, I'm looking forward to this one, dog. I'm looking forward to this one. If you have seen the movie Friday, but a lot of people seen the movie Friday. It's a cult classic. There's that part where I forget the character's name, but I know him as DJ Pooh because I'm a hip hop guy. So DJ Pooh is he's trying to get Debo. He goes up to Debo and he says, "Hey Debo, you know that bike, man. I know that bike. I need it back." Oh yeah, that's cool, partner. Well, it's it's not. I wouldn't be tripping. It's just
Pops is
like that.
tripping, man.
Pops is tripping. It's like both of ours. So, oh yeah, homie, come on over here. And he clocks someone, and he falls on his back, and then he starts running to the car with his arms flailing, and then Craig says, "No."
Day.
Chris
Right.
Tucker says, "He's gonna cry when he get in the car." Let's talk about crying in sports. So the USC Caleb Williams has been on a what was maybe not anymore collision course to be the number one pick in this upcoming draft if he decides to make himself available, if he decides to come out into the draft. He plays for USC. So last season he had a Heisman. He won the Heisman Trophy. Was the front runner. I don't think he's the front runner anymore. Was the front runner to go back to back. And they've had an up and down season, kind of. When I say up and down, USC going into their game against Washington was 7-2. And when I say up and down, their defense is definitely the weak link. And there's been some issues with the way in which Caleb Williams has handled some of the challenges, the adversity. When I say adversity, you're 7-2. Going into that game, there's only so much adversity. There's a press conference that he along with other members of the team didn't make themselves available for. At the end of the game, he sat there sulking, just sitting on the bench, just looking as if to say, my partner Ed would say, as if he was just, I did all I could do, but I can't believe this. They lose the game. Washington. They come into this game. Washington was ranked number 7, I believe, and USC was ranked number 20. Yeah, Washington was ranked number 5. USC was ranked number 20. USC loses 52-42. He proceeds after the game to go to the stands, go up in the stands. His mom was at the game because the game was in LA, and proceeds to start crying and bawling. And he has caught a lot of heat. And I'm saying, if you're supposed to be my number one pick, there's certain things that I need from my number one pick besides the arm strength and all the arm talent and all this other stuff, the ability to lead. I just want to hear from you, man. What did you tell me about your thoughts on this situation?
A lot of red flags go up for me, man. Here's the thing. I would rather have him kicking and throwing chairs and some type of aggression in place of going to seek out mommy and then crying in her arms, her holding a piece of paper over his face so people can't see, but he's literally sobbing. He's doing we've all seen the kids when they start to cry, that type thing.
Yes.
He's literally sobbing in uniform with mommy holding him after a tough loss. And I know we live in a society, man, where we can't, we can't. One, we always have to be politically correct. We can't call people out on certain things nowadays, and we have to. Everybody should be able to show their emotions and blah blah blah.
Okay.
In sports, in my opinion, I've been in the locker rooms. There's crying. Let's make this. I cried on the sideline when we lost the Super Bowl.
Okay.
But I cried in terms of, it was a accomplishment. We got there. We just couldn't pull it off. It was a sad occasion. I actually went down away from some of my teammates, not realizing that other guys on the sideline were doing the same thing as myself. But, I don't know whether it's just a machoism or whatever, but I went away from the side, down the stretch. I'm sitting there wiping tears when I realized you look across, you see John Elway being put up on shoulders, and it's like over. And it was, I in no way, no how would I have gone looking for my mother or even a significant other to cry in their arms. Like, oh, it's just a bad look. It really is. And you mentioned yesterday when we were talking about it real quick, like if you're a GM or, team that might eventually be drafting him, you have to question this a little bit in terms of, is he emotionally stable enough to take on what he's going to eventually take on? Because you mentioned it, he's going to go to a team that's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
We see what the Bears are right now and a couple other spots where he might land, Arizona for all we know. And it's going to get a whole lot rougher before it gets any better. I mean, are we going to have to be on? And stuff like this follows you too, Jay.
Yeah.
It's a brutal league in terms of the memes that are out there, and guys will use this as fuel out on the field.
They'll poke you. They'll try to get inside your head for sure. Now, one of the things that was interesting, you mentioned, and what the question I posed on the run sheet was, is it passion, or is it a weak mental approach? However you want to just describe it, because I'll be straight up. I mean, this is one of the things that I know we've talked about in other iterations, but how when my dad was going through what he was going through, I remember going to your house and I was sitting there and I was talking to you, and I was just, I was trying to be cool about it. And so we got up and you said, all right, Jay, we did the little bro hug, and I just broke down and I started crying, right? But I'm not on the field, and I'm in the after that what goes through your mind when you're after the battle is over, after the game battle. So I'm not trying to say it's like military, but after the game is done. And if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry with my teammates. And I'm not going to be blubbering, because I think there's only so much that you can do. The game is done. Have the emotion. You wish you won. You see the teammates that might cry if they miss a field goal or some of those things. You see the tears falling down their face, but I don't see the shoulder reactions. I don't see that type of stuff going on. And that does it. The only reason I say it raises a red flag is because if he can't handle that, and you're 7-3 now, and you had 3 losses, and yeah, you did all that you could, man, you wonder if, I mentioned to you when I stopped by your house yesterday, is it almost like one of those Ryan Leaf situations? If you knew, let's say a year after he was drafted, what you knew, would you have drafted him still at number 2? Probably not, because he couldn't handle the pressure and the scrutiny that was put upon him at that time in his life. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes, because if you go to a team when you're drafted number 1, number 2, number 3, you're going to a team that's typically bad. You might be the rare guy that comes in, like a Stroud coming into what we thought was going to be a bad Texans team that has performed better than we thought. But for the most part, you're going to go through your bumps. You're going to go through take your lumps. That is concerning.
Well, the problem is, you asked the question, like, is it passion, or is, it's on a sign of for fragile nature? The problem is, Jay, it's all left up for interpretation by those who are making judgments on you.
Yeah.
Some GMs will look at it and say, that young man really cares about what he's doing.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. Do you think that those GMs that do that are trying to convince themselves? They say, well, no, that's passion. He really cares. That's why we go and say.
The other thing he's also set himself up for, we all know the combine is going to come next year. He'll be one of those quarterbacks. He's above throwing at the combine, but he'll come for the interviews, right?
Yeah.
What do you think some of the first questions those GMs and people making the decision are going to ask? So, Caleb, what was up with the crying on the sideline?
Mm,
What was that all about? Now you have to explain yourself and,
yeah.
come up with your best answer, but they're going to now decipher that answer. So, I mean, it's all up to interpretation. The other thing is, Jay, we've seen guys put in the NCAA tournament, March Madness, even football games, whatever. You put the towel over your head and you
Yeah.
shed a couple tears. There's no shame in that. Where I find the egregiousness, you went and like I said, and this is why I'm talking about you set yourself up. You go looking for your mother, and like I said, I was joking with my son on the way to school this morning. I told him because he's like, "Take it easy, okay." I was like, "Look." I was like, we ever get to a point where we're sitting in the stands, you come looking for your mother, I'm taking her out of there. We're not having that type of situation. Because like
Yeah.
I said, you're opening yourself up and it's just not a it's not a good look. You don't have to go find, yeah, I mean, I dare say go find your dad, give him a hug, and maybe you two shed a tear together, but not crying in mommy's arms and she's shielding your face. That to me is like I said, it's just a bad look, and it's all up to interpretation. The problem is now everybody's going to start dissecting it. He could have took himself, composed himself, went into the locker room, and obviously last week they weren't even allowed to talk to the press. You sit in your front of your locker, you get that stuff out of there. Okay, we're done with it, right?
Riley is
Um,
doing his players a disservice. He's doing his
yeah,
players a disservice, man, by doing these things. Or we not talking to the press. We not doing this, man. If you stepping up on stage, if you're stepping up, you're willingly stepping into the one of the bigger stages because of what that program, what USC represents, has represented historically. Let's say, if it was USC, Notre Dame, he came from Oklahoma. Maybe Oklahoma didn't really care because you were the big dog on the block. If you're at Alabama, LSU, I mean, there are certain programs where you got to stand, you got to take those shots, you got to take those arrows after the game because that's what you signed up for.
yeah. I mean, it's a big boy sport, man. I've been there for tough losses. I've been there, I'm never one of those guys that the media came to seek out to ask the big question, but I've been next to guys in front of lockers when guys are surrounded and they'll ask the tough questions and stuff like that. You got to be, I mean, if you're going to accept the millions, you got to accept the responsibility of everything that else comes along with it. My man Spider-Man's uncle said, with great power becomes great responsibility.
Yes,
And
sir.
I would throw a caveat in there, with great money and power comes great responsibility. And that means taking on all roles of the position. One of them is when you do well, they want you to stand in front of the camera and talk. When you do bad, we're going to ask you questions that are going to be tough as well. And when you cry on the sideline, man, that's a whole new ballpark right there.
Because if you're not talking, then the first time that the media has access to you, let's talk about what happened. I don't want to talk about that. They're gonna if
It's
they're
not going
worth their
away.
salt, they're going to continue to ask those questions. It's going to be interesting, man, because yeah, it's again, I don't nothing wrong with having emotion, but the going to your mama and crying on the side, that jumped the shark. That was too much. That's
Yes,
beyond the pale, in my opinion, in
absolutely.
that regard. So yeah, all right. Easy sports talk, Javon Adams and Ed Smith. So let's get to this. I wanted just your thoughts on what was the biggest takeaway. What were you most impressive from this football Sunday, this football weekend, and then we'll get into what least impressed you, what was most concerning about this past football weekend.
For me, how good the Baltimore Ravens are. Once
Yeah,
again, another team, a NFC team comes in, want to see how good they are matched up against the Ravens, and they did to Seattle exactly what they did to Detroit 2 weeks ago, and they might be the best team in the league. I'm not saying there's a great team out there, but they might be the best team, and all things might end up running through Baltimore because they look doggone good. Other good, Joshua Dobbs,
yeah,
4 days removed from being traded over to Minnesota, not
yeah.
expecting to see any action. And that young man goes out there after the rookie quarterback challenges at the goal line, concussed out, and all of a sudden he's thrust into the role of starting quarterback, not even being there, a full week,
Yeah.
and was able to grasp the playbook, not just call plays. He was checking at the line, had a few mistakes early and during the game. I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I just feel so bad for him because of the position that he's in. And then lo and behold, the young man gathers himself along with his new teammates, guys that he probably didn't even know their name. They're sitting there talking number what, number this,
Yeah.
and leads them to a victory, taking the 4-4 team to 5-4 now. I was never so happy for another player. Just I am now a Joshua Dobbs fan, watching him perform after what he put up with here in Arizona. I mean, he was thrust into the role, much different, no talent around him. Team is going in the opposite direction of what Minnesota is, and everything was his fault though. According to the fans, and then the Cardinals got to see exactly what they actually wanted to see, meaning they got a chance to see one Clayton Tune go out there against uh, the Cleveland Browns, and we
Yeah.
saw why Joshua Dobbs was the quarterback here for the first 8 weeks. Cardinals go over there and get shut out. The other thing, I always take joy. You talk about the good. I take joy in watching the Cowboys. And now Eagles aren't my favorite, but I love seeing the Cowboys scuffle. And we'll see what Jerry has to say about this one. Cowboys should have won that game. Eagles end up winning it. Just debacle at the end by McCarthy, and just I love seeing that. So just another good weekend of football, man.
Oh goodness! So I with the first two, I will say that I definitely concur with that when you're talking about the way that the Ravens seem to. I wonder if it's a little bit up and down if you look at the last 3 weeks. More two up, two spikes, and then one little dip there when they played the Arizona Cardinals. They still came out victorious, but all I'm saying is that it's just that offensive output. So that was, but definitely more ups in terms of than downs over the last 3 weeks, if that's the sample size we look at. And of course, Joshua Dobbs, I mentioned on Believe in the Arizona Cardinals, that my youngest son, he's 17. He's become a Joshua Dobbs fan just because he sees the same thing that you do. Now, one of the bad things that I'll look and see is the going into what I think we mentioned this as the game of the week on the Easy Sports Talk show on Saturday, but that Cincinnati Buffalo game, there's still something off about with Josh Allen. I mean, he was,
Yeah.
the Bengals ended up winning 24-18, but that's still concerning. So I guess that's the bad side of it in terms of you want to see two marquee teams at this point over the last 3 or 4 years that they become marquee clubs, to be able to see them really battle it out. And I think that it was left a little bit wanting because with Josh Allen.
For me, another bad was once again we see Miami unable to step up and beat a team that they're not necessarily supposed to beat. They're good at beating on the week, and then you get them up against the Buffalo, you get them up against Eagles, you get them up against KC, and they show sometime how non-physical they are. They made it a game at the end. They were down 21-0 at the half, made it 21-14 when it was all said and done. I'm so surprised that you did not, as one of your Raiders, bruh. And I know they beat up on the Giants, but
there's
still.
no film. There's no film, right? There's no film on that. So that's the thing, because you don't know what the tendencies are. You don't know what the tendencies for the team are. So it's great. I'd rather have a victory than have going in with no film and we still lose. But yeah, I'll take that. We'll see.
Guys were playing hard. They actually played for Pierce. You saw guys that, I'm not gonna say they gave up on McDaniels, but they did not want to lay it on the line for that dude. They actually came to play for Pierce yesterday. So I mean, that's a good sign.
I will say this, and I'm going to tell you a story that I heard about that was, I think it was what Glazer ended up reporting about the Raiders. So give me just a second. I'll give you the recap of that. But that one of the things that led to his firing. But one of the things that is concerning a bit is that, they won 21-14, the Chiefs, but there was 7 put on the board by the defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that 21 was in the first half. So they didn't score in the second half. So there's still some things that need to be worked out. I guess the encouraging thing, maybe if you're a Chiefs fan, and I root for them just because my dad, I pull for them in that way. If they're going to play against the Raiders, and I want the Raiders to annihilate them. But is that there's still room for improvement based upon there's still more season to go. But they need to start to get those things worked out if they want to go deep into the playoffs and get back to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, quite honestly, we're seeing it is so tough, Jay, to continue to do what they do. I
Yeah,
don't know whether it's complacency or other teams figure you out a little more because they're seeing you so much more.
right.
But they don't look like they have like. There's a reason why there's only been one repeat team in the last 20 plus years, and it
Yeah,
was the
Patriots,
Patriots,
right?
and
Yeah.
even they didn't do it more than that one time. It's
Hmm.
like there's a reason why it's so hard to climb that mountain over and over again. And like I said, Casey just doesn't look. It doesn't look like they have that same spark this year.
Yes.
So maybe they lose this year, and then they'll come back with that spark again next year.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something to it, but yeah, they don't look the same as the championship seasons.
So before I throw a curveball at you, but so here's what Glazer said that so they had a team kind of a team meeting, right? So they had a team meeting where it was one of let's get everything. Let's everybody get it off your chest. Let's just say what you feel. And so the team essentially was saying how they were just so frustrated with McDaniels, right? Just so frustrated with them. And so then so McDaniels turns to what's our coach's head coach name? He's now Pierce, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Antonio
He's
Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. So Antonio Pierce says, because McDaniel says, well, Antonio, why don't you say something? So Antonio says, well, we have to, all the stuff you guys are saying, we got to forget that. We have to really build this culture here in the building. We got to do it. It's us. And I know about what it takes to build culture because again, when we were I was on that Giants team and we had to believe in ourselves because nobody did. And what did that end up? We ended up winning the Super Bowl. Now, if you keep it in mind, who did they win that Super Bowl against? The Patriots. So the team is feeling good after that, and everybody leaves. But McDaniels pulls Antonio Pierce aside and said, "Don't ever say anything about the Patriots again."
Wow.
So then it goes up the chain of command, and Davis hears about it. Mark Davis hears about it and says, "Nah, okay, let's get this out of here. Let's press the eject button on this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
you're showing where your allegiances still lie.
Yeah, because where you are right now is where you're supposed to be
Yeah.
repping. You ain't supposed to be repping no other set except this Raider set
No.
right now. Forget that Patriots set. You over here now. You repping here now.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about. So yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. So believe in the Arizona. Believe, God, I do it every once in a while. I'm trying to. I be juggling, man. So Easy Sports Talk Show. So this is a curveball. So college football starts today. College football starts today. College basketball starts today. College basketball
Yeah.
season starts today. I got a question for you because you talk about the march through the 162. You talk about the march of the 82, all that stuff. How involved and how much do you pay attention to your North Carolina Tar Heels during the regular season?
I'm locked in for the 30, dog. I mean, yeah. Hey, I rolled. This is one thing where
Okay.
all bets aside. I
Okay.
don't care if we're playing the University of Chattanooga, Tennessee, from Podunk. I'm locked in. Those are important games, bro. Gotta watch those. We gotta see how the team is developing and getting ready as we get closer to March. We got to be playing our best basketball, but it all starts today
Okay.
in the month of November for college basketball. I'm sorry.
What are your level of expectations for your club? Because they underperformed a bit last year, right?
Under a little bit. You kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
We went from the national championship
You start to
game 2
get so
years.
upset. You said, "I don't even want them to make it to know. I don't want
I didn't
I
want to
don't
be
want I don't
embarrassed.
want no NIT. I don't
Yeah.
want nothing."
Nah, we wasn't going to the NIT. If they would went to the NIT last year, I'd have had to write a letter to somebody.
Oh man.
I'd been stood outside with a picket sign, anything. That was embarrassing last year. Go from a national championship game to not even making a tournament. And that team was so up and down all
Yeah.
through the year. But here's the thing. I suffered through it. I never turned my back on them. I just suffered through it. It's like being in a bad marriage, bro. You can't walk away from her. We got to make this work, baby. We got to make this work. If it's not for today, it's for tomorrow. We got to figure out how we're going to make it through this. So, hey,
I love
I'm
it.
down with them all the way.
All right.
All right.
So what's an expectation? You try the tournament, at least to get into the tournament? What? Or are you just trying to enjoy the ride? You're just trying to enjoy the ride.
We got everybody coming back from that last year team. So I'm
Yeah.
not, but it's a mature group, and
Yeah.
maybe they're on a warpath because of how embarrassed they were from last year. I tell you, who really has to win me back over is Hubie
Mhm.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Hubie
I
has
mean,
got
no,
Hubie
it's
Herbert Davis.
Herbert.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Herbert
Yeah.
Davis. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got to win me back over, bro,
Yeah.
because after that run, and obviously he's taking over from the great Roy Williams, and
Yeah.
you can't disrespect Roy like that. That's just some bull. So I'm looking for him to figure this out with the players he has. We had some transfers out. We probably had some transfers in. So, and here's the thing: the first 10 games or so, I'm getting, because college basketball is.
Yeah.
It's not like pros where you got guys sign contracts. They might be there forever. These kids with this transfer portal and stuff like that now, and
Yeah.
just graduating out, you got
Yeah.
every year. The first 10 games for me are like, I got to find who's my dudes and who they, the guys I'm rooting for, and
Yeah.
then their roles. And do I like them? Do I not like them? So that's why. And so the March through the 30, man, I'm there from
He
day
said, "I'm
one.
here." He said, "I'm here for the 30." I feel you.
Yes,
I ain't mad at you. That dude is Ed Smith. He don't like the 180. He don't like the 162 nor the 82, but he'll take that 30. He'll take that 30 all day long.
Tell you what, man, that in-season tournament though, that's got me, bro. Wait a minute, today's Monday.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
we got a tournament game.
Tomorrow, that tournament game, and the new court in them jerseys, yes, sir.
Oh man, so we have a blast here. We do this so again 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Easy Sports Talk Show. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. Go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com, and as we always like to say around this time, you can